What if the most powerful thing you could do today is say nothing at all? Hey everyone, I'm Ryan J. Wells. Today I want to talk about something that we often overlook in our busy lives: silence. In a world that constantly pushes us to be louder, to always have something to say, and to stay busy, we forget that silence holds immense power. But what if I told you that silence is not just about the absence of noise? It's a state of mind, a space where we can find clarity, peace, and strength. In the middle of all the distractions we face, silence offers us a moment to reconnect with who we really are. Now, before we dive deeper, take a moment. Pause this video, close your eyes, and let yourself sit in silence for just a few seconds. Notice how it feels. And when you're ready, drop a comment below and tell me, what did you notice in that moment of silence? Did it feel peaceful, or maybe a bit uncomfortable? I'd love to hear your thoughts. You see, silence isn't about shutting the world out. It's about opening up to what's inside. Throughout this video, we're going to explore how silence can unlock your inner strength, bring you clarity, and help you live a more fulfilling life. So, if you're ready to discover the real truth of being silent, hit the like button and let's get started. Silence as a path to self-discovery. Let's dive deeper into the idea of silence as more than just the absence of sound. Imagine this. You're sitting alone, perhaps early in the morning. The world is still quiet. The sun hasn't fully risen yet, and there's a calm stillness in the air. No notifications, no emails, no background noise. Just you and your thoughts. In this moment, you start to feel something powerful, a connection to yourself. In today's fast-paced world, we rarely get these moments, but when we do, they can be life-changing. That stillness allows us to hear our own voice more clearly, the voice that often gets drowned out by the demands of life. It's like a subtle whisper you didn't even realize was there, guiding you towards what you truly need, what your soul is longing for. I remember a time when I felt completely overwhelmed by everything going on in my life. There was a constant hum of anxiety in the background, and I thought that keeping busy would solve it. But then, in a moment of pure exhaustion, I found myself sitting in silence. No distractions, just me. At first, it was uncomfortable. My mind raced, but slowly I began to hear something else. My intuition, the part of me that knew I needed to make a change. That was the moment I realized that silence wasn't the enemy. It was the key to understanding what I had been avoiding. It's not always easy to sit with yourself in silence. Sometimes it feels like facing a mirror that reflects back everything you've been trying to ignore. But it's in these moments of discomfort that growth happens. You start asking yourself the real questions. Am I truly happy with where I am? Am I living in alignment with my values or just going through the motions? That's the power of silence. It doesn't just give you answers. It helps you ask the questions that matter. It's like turning down the volume on life so you can finally hear what's been inside you all along. In the silence of the heart, God speaks. Mother Teresa. Whether you interpret this as a connection to a higher power or simply to your inner self, silence is where those deeper truths emerge. It's where clarity finds you. And sometimes that's all we need. A little space, a little silence to remind us of who we truly are. Silence enhances awareness and appreciation. Now, let's talk about what happens when you take that inner silence and let it shape the way you see the world around you. Imagine walking down a familiar street, one you've been on hundreds of times. Normally, you're lost in your thoughts, rushing to your next destination. But this time, you decide to walk in silence. No music in your ears, no distractions. As you walk, something incredible happens. You start to notice things you never saw before. The way the sunlight filters through the trees, casting long golden shadows across the pavement. The sound of leaves rustling in the breeze, and maybe even the distant laughter of children playing nearby. It's not that these things weren't there before, it's that you were too caught up in the noise to notice them. Silence has a way of pulling you into the present moment, grounding you in what's happening right now, rather than in the endless stream of thoughts about the past or the future. I experienced this for myself once while hiking in the mountains. I was distracted, thinking about work and the usual stresses of life, when I decided to stop, completely stop, and just stand still for a moment. No agenda, no rush. In that silence, I heard the faint sound of water trickling from a stream nearby, the soft crunch of leaves underfoot, the distant call of birds. Suddenly, the forest didn't feel like a backdrop. It felt alive. And I realized how much beauty I had been missing in my rush to get to the end of the trail. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Ram Dass. This quote speaks to something deeper. When you quiet your mind, you don't just hear the world around you. You start to hear the unspoken truths within yourself and others. Have you ever noticed how much more meaningful a conversation can be when you allow pauses, when you listen without jumping in to respond? Silence in communication creates space. Space for deeper understanding. Space for emotions to surface that words can't always capture. There's a richness in that silence, a way of connecting that transcends what we say. It's in these quiet moments that we often experience life's simplest, yet most profound joys. A sunset, a smile, the warmth of a loved one's hand. These are moments that silence allows us to fully appreciate. The next time you're in conversation with someone, try not to fill every pause with words. Instead, embrace the quiet. Listen more deeply. Observe what isn't being said. You might find that silence creates more connection than words ever could. In this way, silence doesn't just change how you experience the world. It transforms how you engage with it. It opens your eyes to the details, to the beauty, and to the presence that's always there waiting for you to notice. Silence as strength. Now, let's talk about something that might seem surprising at first. How silence is not just a refuge, but a source of strength. Picture a moment when someone's words are coming at you fast. Maybe they're angry, maybe they're frustrated, or maybe they're just trying to provoke you. Every instinct tells you to respond, to defend yourself, to match their energy. But instead, you choose silence. In that moment, silence becomes your shield. It's not weakness, it's power. It shows that you are in control, that you won't let someone else's emotions dictate your own. There's a profound strength in being able to hold that space, in not reacting immediately, in choosing your response with intention. I remember a time when I was faced with a difficult situation. Someone close to me was upset, and their words cut deep. I felt the urge to defend myself, to explain, to fight back. But I chose silence. And in that silence, I found clarity. I realized that their words were coming from a place of pain, not truth. My silence allowed both of us to reflect and, in time, to heal. Sometimes it's not about reacting. It's about observing in silence. In those moments, silence gives you the power to observe rather than react impulsively. It allows you to understand the situation more fully, without letting your emotions take over. It's like standing in the eye of a storm. Everything around you might be chaotic, but inside there's a calmness, a stillness. This is especially true in moments of conflict. We often think that silence in these situations makes us passive or weak, but it's actually the opposite. Silence in the face of adversity takes courage. It takes strength to not be pulled into someone else's storm. Think about how much more powerful it is to respond from a place of calm rather than from a place of emotional chaos. Silence allows you to pause, to reflect, and to choose your response carefully. When you act from that place of silence, your actions carry more weight, more intention, and more clarity. I challenge you to think about a time when you were caught up in a heated moment. What if, instead of reacting immediately, you had chosen silence? How might that have changed the outcome? Next time, try it. Pause, breathe, let silence be your guide. The unspoken power of communication. Now let's look at silence in a different light, as a tool for connection. We often think communication is all about the words we say, but sometimes the most profound conversations happen in the space between those words. Have you ever shared a moment with someone where no words were necessary? Maybe it was a glance, a smile, or a gentle touch that said more than any sentence could. That's the unspoken power of silence. It allows us to communicate on a deeper level, where words aren't always enough. I once sat with a close friend who was going through a tough time. They didn't want to talk, and honestly, I didn't know what to say to make things better. So I just sat there, quietly. At first, the silence felt awkward, but after a while, something shifted. Without a word, they reached out and took my hand. In that silence, there was understanding, there was support, and there was connection. No words needed. Silence speaks when words can't. It's a simple idea, but it's so true. There are moments in life where words fall short, and silence becomes the language of the heart. In those moments, silence creates a space for others to express themselves without the pressure of filling the air with conversation. It's in these silent spaces that we often find the most connection. In our daily interactions, we sometimes rush to speak, to fill every pause with something, anything. But what if we embraced those pauses? What if we gave ourselves permission to listen more and speak less? The next time you're in a conversation, notice the power of silence. When you let a moment breathe, when you allow silence to linger, something happens. The other person feels truly heard, and that deepens the connection in ways that words alone can't. Silence is often where the real communication begins. Silence as a gateway to spiritual connection. Now let's explore one of the most profound aspects of silence, how it can be a gateway to something greater than ourselves. Whether you call it the universe, nature, or a higher power, silence can be the bridge that connects us to the vastness of existence and to the deeper wisdom that lies within. Have you ever stood in a place so still, so vast, that it almost felt like time had stopped? Maybe on a mountaintop, in the quiet of a forest, or by the ocean as the waves gently rolled in. In those moments when the world around you is still, it feels like something else is present, something larger, something beyond words. For me, it was during a hike in the mountains. I reached a point where there was nothing but the sound of the wind, the rustle of leaves, and my own breath. It was as if the silence wrapped itself around me, and in that moment, I felt a connection, a deep sense of peace, of being part of something much bigger than myself. It was in that silence that I felt the presence of something greater. I didn't need answers. I just needed to be there, fully present. Only in the silence, the quiet moments, can you hear the voice of your soul. That's where silence takes on a spiritual dimension. It becomes not just a break from the noise, but a sacred space where you can listen to what your heart, your soul, or the universe is trying to tell you. In silence, we often find the guidance we didn't even know we were seeking. It's not the loud proclamations of life that give us clarity. It's the quiet whispers in our hearts. the ones that we can only hear when we're still enough to listen. Whether you're looking for answers, direction, or simply peace, silence offers that connection. It's like tapping into an invisible current that's always flowing, always available to us, but only accessible when we turn down the noise of life and listen with intention. Some people call it prayer, some call it meditation, and others simply call it being. But whatever you name it, silence is where the inner and outer worlds meet, where the deepest truths reveal themselves. And the beauty of this connection? It's always there. Whether you're sitting in your living room or standing in the middle of nature, that stillness is available to you. You just need to pause long enough to feel it. Silence in a noisy world. A daily practice. Now that we've explored how silence can connect us to something deeper, let's talk about how we can bring more silence into our daily lives, especially in a world that's constantly pushing us to be busy, productive, and always on the go. It's no secret that modern life is filled with distractions. We're bombarded with notifications, social media updates, emails, and the constant hum of information. It can feel like there's no room for silence, like we have to fill every moment with activity. But here's the thing. Silence isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. I get it. Taking time to be silent can feel like a waste when there's so much to do. But here's what I've learned. Silence is an investment. It's not just a break from productivity. It's a way to recharge, to refocus, and to realign with what truly matters. Think about how you feel when your phone dies and you're disconnected for a little while. At first, it might feel like you're missing out, like you're cut off from the world. But then, something shifts. You start to feel more present, more grounded. That's the power of silence in a noisy world. In silence, the mind finds its true focus. When you allow yourself moments of silence, you're giving your mind a chance to rest, to slow down, and to reset. You'll find that after a period of stillness, you return to your day with more clarity, more creativity, and more focus. Silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's the foundation for your greatest ideas, your most important decisions. So how do we create these moments of silence in our busy lives? It doesn't have to be complicated. Start small. It could be a few minutes in the morning before your day starts, or a quiet moment before you go to bed. It could even be during your commute. Turn off the radio, put down your phone, and just be with yourself. It's in these little pockets of silence that you'll find the peace and clarity you need to navigate the chaos of the world. And here's the beautiful part. The more you practice silence, the more you'll crave it. You'll start to notice how those moments of stillness become the anchor that grounds you in your day-to-day life. Silence doesn't require anything special, just a willingness to pause, to breathe, and to be present. And the more we practice this, the more we can carry that stillness with us, even in the busiest, noisiest moments of our lives. Silence as a healing force. We've talked about how silence can connect you to yourself, to others, and even to something greater than all of us. But there's another powerful dimension to silence that I want to share with you: its ability to heal. Think back to a time when life felt overwhelming. Maybe there was a lot going on at work, or you were dealing with personal struggles. Everything seemed loud, fast, and chaotic. In those moments, it's easy to get lost in the noise, to feel like you're barely keeping your head above water. But what if in those times, silence could be your greatest ally? There's a reason why many of us instinctively seek out quiet spaces when we're hurting or stressed. Whether it's retreating to your room, going for a solitary walk, or sitting in nature, silence has a way of soothing the soul. It's like hitting a reset button for your mind and emotions. I remember a time in my life when things were falling apart. Nothing seemed to be going right. I felt like I had no control over the chaos around me, and it was affecting every part of my life. So I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I turned everything off. No phone, no TV, no music. Just silence. At first, the silence felt deafening, but slowly that discomfort faded, and I began to feel something else, a sense of peace. The world around me was still spinning, but in that moment of silence, I found a center of calm within myself. Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. This quote couldn't be more true. Silence doesn't just give us rest, it gives us strength. It allows us to step back from the chaos, to regain perspective, and to approach life's challenges with more clarity and resilience. In silence, we heal from the inside out. There's something profoundly healing about giving yourself permission to be still, to not have all the answers, and to let go of the need to fix everything. Silence teaches us that healing doesn't always come from doing more, but sometimes from doing less, from simply being. When life feels overwhelming, remember that silence is always available to you. It's a refuge, a place where you can go to rest, to breathe, and to heal. It's in these moments of quiet that you begin to rebuild your strength, and from that place of stillness, you can emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The transformative power of silence. At this point, we've explored how silence can help us reconnect with ourselves, strengthen our relationships, and even heal from life's challenges. But perhaps the most profound truth about silence is this: it has the power to transform us. Think about the times in your life when you felt stuck, when you were searching for something but didn't know what it was. Maybe you were trying to figure out your next step, or maybe you were simply trying to make sense of everything happening around you. In those moments, silence can be a powerful tool for transformation. In the stillness, you're not just sitting in emptiness, you're creating space for new insights, for new ideas, and for a deeper understanding of yourself. Transformation doesn't always happen in loud, dramatic moments. More often, it happens in the quiet spaces, in the pauses between the noise. I've experienced this firsthand. There have been times in my life when I didn't know what direction to take. I felt lost, unsure of the future. But rather than trying to force a solution, I chose to sit in silence. And in that silence, something shifted. I began to see things from a different perspective. The answers that I had been searching for didn't come from outside of me. They emerged from within. In the silence, we can hear the whispers of our soul. That's the beauty of silence. It creates room for growth, for change, for new beginnings. It's in those quiet moments that we often discover the most about who we are and what we truly want. And as we embrace silence, we begin to transform, not just in how we see the world, but in how we move through it. Silence allows you to strip away the layers of distraction, to see yourself and your life with clarity. It gives you the space to let go of what no longer serves you and to make room for what does. This is how transformation begins, not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet decision to listen to yourself and trust the process. Embrace the journey of silence. So, my friends, we've journeyed through the many dimensions of silence, how it helps us discover ourselves, how it strengthens our relationships, how it connects us to something greater, and how it heals and transforms us. But here's what I want you to remember most. Silence is not a destination. It's a journey. It's a path that leads you deeper into yourself, into your life, and into the world around you. Every moment of silence you create is an opportunity to reconnect, to reflect, and to grow. And this journey isn't about perfection. It's not about always knowing the answers or having everything figured out. It's about being present, being open, and allowing the quiet moments to guide you. The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. Ram Dass. In the end, silence is about being fully alive. It's about embracing the fullness, the richness, and the beauty of each moment. When you stop rushing to fill every space with sound, you start to notice the magic that's been there all along, the magic of simply being. So, as you go forward from here, I encourage you to carve out time for silence. Start small. It could be 5 minutes in the morning or a few moments before bed. But whatever you do, make silence a part of your life. Let it be your guide, your companion, and your friend. In this noisy world, silence is a gift. And when you embrace it, you'll find that it opens doors to places you never thought possible. Thank you for being here with me on this journey. I hope you find peace, strength, and transformation in the silence, just as I have. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. How do you plan to bring more silence into your life? Have you had moments where silence helped you find clarity or peace? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about the power of silence in our lives. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Together, let's continue this journey of inner growth and self-discovery. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.